Is it the case that you have seen the Galamsey problem now and you are either benefiting from it or you are scared of it, so you are not acting?
Well, Mario, let me indicate that the Cali Bishops Conference and all other sections of the Ghanaian population who have commented on Galamsey are right to demand action from government. Indeed, Galamsey has been a major issue for the better part of 15 years now. And the previous government completely failed to address it. I have said it and I'll repeat it. That government was complicit in Galamsey. Their party hierarchy was involved. Indeed, Professor Frimpong Boateng, who they themselves chose to lead the fight, has a report which is damning and shows the involvement of government officials, party officials. He has gone on record to have said that Galamsey was a major source of financing for the new patriotic party. So it was little wonder that they were not interested in fighting it.
And that's why they lost the election.
Absolutely. And Ghanaians were right to throw them out in the manner that they did. The Ghanaians showed righteous indignation. And it is right that they did so. Ghanaians are right to demand action from this government. We are alive to that responsibility. Since we've been in power, we've done a number of things. So if you want to see whether the situation has improved or it has worsened, you need to look at the hard cold facts. What were the facts? When we came into power in January 2025, an assessment showed that as of that time, there were 288 forest reserves. Out of these 288 forest reserves, Galamsey threatened 44 of them. In other words, there was some Galamsey activity in 44 of them. 9 out of those 44 had been completely taken over by armed gangs who were doing as they pleased and superintending Galamsey on a massive scale. Now, what is the situation? The situation now is that all the 9 forest reserves have been repossessed by government through the Galamsey Task Force. All 9 of
forest reserves, where are they located?
I can give you a list.
Okay.
But it is a matter of public record. There's no dispute about it.
Okay.
They have been taken over by government again. Of course, you do know that once that is done and the task force moves, some unscrupulous elements try to go back, but we are still pursuing them. So those 9 are no longer under the control of these armed bandits who were doing Galamsey. So if you have a situation where at the beginning of the year, 9 forest reserves were under the control of armed bandits who were doing Galamsey, and now that is not the situation, that is a clear improvement. Now the larger 44 have also seen some increased activity by government to ensure that we flush out these elements. But of course, we will be the last to say that Galamsey has been overcome. It has by no means been overcome. There are still people who are doing Galamsey, and we are going after them. Now, how have we done this? Now, we formed what we call the National Anti-Illegal Mining Operations Center, NIMOS, which brings together all the stakeholders who are playing a role in fighting Galamsey. So the military, the police, other technical personnel, what have you. So that it becomes a coordinating center, so that the fight is properly structured, because there were disparate groups, all of whom worked towards a common objective. But every now and then you hear reports about excesses and abuse. There were every reports of extortion and all that. In order to gain control of the situation and ensure that the fight is coordinated, NIMOS has been set up. So that gives you a structure that forms the foundation upon which you move against Galamsey. Number 2, what are the tangible outcomes? Apart from reclaiming the 9 forest reserves, as I speak to you, there are 1,400 people who have been arrested and are waiting trial. The Attorney General informs that he will soon set up a special court to hasten their prosecution so that it will serve as a major deterrent to people who are minded to go into it. Omaru, over 440 excavators have been seized, some of which have been destroyed. You recall that under the MP, when excavators were seized, we were told that they had been stolen and shared amongst party people. We cannot account for them, but that is not the case today. 300 shamfans, and you know what shamfans are? They are some contraptions that people put on the river and stir the riverbed, and that's what creates the turbidity, that increases the turbidity levels and destroys the quality of the water. 300 of those equipment have been seized, many of them destroyed. And in fact, there are efforts to dechemicalize the water. In other words, put in material that would ensure that we reverse the deterioration in quality. In addition to this, 900 water pumps that these Galamseyers used have been confiscated. In fact, only last week, the Agric Minister shared this for farmers to use to irrigate their lands, water their lands. So this has been done. We also noticed, upon assumption of power, that there was an unusual influx of excavators. The records show that we now have about 200 excavators imported into Ghana every day. So we said no, this must be looked into. Excavators in themselves are not designed to be used for illegal mining. They are construction equipment. So there are legitimate construction firms that import these for their business. There are also legitimate companies involved in lawful mining who use this equipment. But there are unscrupulous people who import them and use it for this nefarious Galamsey activity. So what did government do? We said, no, we are now going to impound it and find out whether indeed these excavators are being imported for legitimate purposes. So indeed, in the last 8 months or so, 2 months, just 2 months, we impounded 1,300 excavators. It took up a large tract of space at the ports. So on 22nd August, GPHA put out a notification that they were going to move these excavators to decongest the port so that containers can have space to be packed. Some of your colleagues in the media reported this as though at midnight, Galamseyers were being allowed to clear these excavators to go and engage in Galamsey. And that's what has added to this latest round of public brouhaha. But it was false reportage.
There you go.
GPHA put out clear notification. And in fact, I invite your crew to go to Burma camp. I can facilitate that. You will see the excavators, some of which are parked there, some of which are parked at Michelle camp and other places, under military guard, so that nobody can dare go there and move it without express authorization from the appropriate quarters. Now, 1,300 of them have been impounded. As I speak to you, every excavator that is imported and cleared legitimately is tracked. A tracking device is installed so that we can follow the movement of that excavator. There's something they call geofencing, which means that the tracker is programmed such that if you move the excavator beyond the area you said you were going to use it for construction or lawful mining purposes, you will be identified and the excavator can be disabled. So all these are being done in order to ensure that we make substantial progress in the fight against Galamsey. Let me make it clear that President Mahama is committed, absolutely committed, to weeding out Galamsey. Also, let me indicate that we made specific commitments in the fight against Galamsey. We spoke about banning new mining activity in forest reserves. And indeed, it's been implemented. As I speak to you, since we came to power, no lease has been granted to anybody to mine, whether lawful or unlawful, in a forest reserve.
So all these things you said sound great. The only question is, why are you not imposing a state of emergency?
Again, you see, President Mahama answered that.
Yes.
President Mahama answered that at the media encounter.
The answer was not satisfactory, and that's why we are seeing a lot of the questions.
Well, I'm not sure that it was not satisfactory. You see, one of the things that needs to happen is that the conversation has to be such that we listen to all the issues that are raised. First of all, a state of emergency is a very severe measure. It comes with curbs in freedoms.
But you knew about this in opposition.
Yeah, but we have never called for a state of emergency. We never did. Let me correct it. We didn't say that we will impose a state of emergency. At the time that the state of emergency discussion came up in opposition, 9 forest reserves were under the control of bandits. That is no longer the situation. President Mahama says that the conventional methods we are using, if it is ramped up, can achieve the objective. But he is prepared anytime it becomes necessary to impose a state of emergency to do so. And I'm indicating that the state of emergency comes with certain measures.
So the conditions are not ripe for that.
He does not believe now that the conditions are ripe yet. But he believes certainly that the actions we are taking must be increased, they must be intensified. In fact, let me tell you that now, all the 44 areas that are threatened by Galamsey, there's going to be permanent military presence. In the past, they go and flash out the characters engaged in Galamsey and then they leave. But now they will have permanent military presence. All riverine areas, in other words, all the rivers that we have will have permanent military presence. In addition to this, we have the Blue Water Guards. The idea is to ensure that up to 2,000 of them are trained by the close of year. We have close to 1,000 now. Their role is to complement the efforts of the security agencies to monitor the rivers and immediately alert NIMOS and other entities involved about the presence of these people so that action can be taken. It is through their agility and alertness that the 300 Shamfans have been seized and destroyed. So a lot is happening. We take on board the criticism. We take on board the demand for improved action. We take on